The U.S. is urging China right now to stop pressuring and showing aggression militarily towards Taiwan. This comes as China held military drills Saturday in an expected show of force following a visit to the United States by Taiwan's vice president. China's defense ministry describing the drills as a stern warning over what it called collusion. Taiwan says it detected more than 40 Chinese warplanes around the island, 26 of those jets crossing the median line of the Taiwan Strait, which is an unofficial boundary. For more, let's bring in NewsNation senior national security contributor, retired Air Force Lieutenant General Richard Newton. Lieutenant General, please just tell us, do you think this is a whole lot of, what do they call it, saber rattling, saber clashing by China, and that they're not going to actually pull the trigger on formal means of war?
It is indeed, Adrienne. You mentioned it's a stern warning. I think of it also stern, certainly, but also a serious warning. But it's right out of their predicted playbook. They are obviously, most watchful of any movement of Taiwan's leaders, outside of the Taiwan area, but also when, in this case, the Taiwanese vice president did what we called stopover visits after attending the Paraguay president's inauguration last week, stopped over in New York and in San Francisco and delivered prepared remarks and so forth. But this is to be expected. There were Taiwan reports there were 42 Chinese aircraft involved and 8 Chinese naval warships in and around the island. So it is stern, it is significant, but I do not believe that it would lead to any type of significant escalation in this case. But if you recall, during Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi's visit back in August of last year, it was much larger reaction. They actually fired missiles over Taiwan that landed in Japan's exclusive economic zone. And then when Speaker of the House McCarthy in April of this year hosted the Taiwanese president at the Reagan Library, same type of drills, but actually longer in terms of length. They were over a period of days. So this is serious, Adrienne.
Serious, but again, just a lot of noise at this point. Taiwan says Beijing is trying to influence their country's upcoming presidential election. How so?
They are. They're very focused on politics inside of Taiwan. In this case, the Taiwan vice president who visited, quick visits in the United States and now has returned. They're very focused on him because he's, first off, the front runner, but also a rather hardliner that supports Taiwanese independence. And so China, the broader picture here is China's trying to influence the electorate in Taiwan as their presidential elections will be put forth in January of this year. So they're trying to make sure that the Taiwanese people know that China is just 60 miles to their west, and that they're trying to influence the electorate and really try to get them to think in terms of not being independent, but being rattled by China with these exercises.
Tell us from your military perspective, when you combine the threats, or at least perceived threats, of Beijing to Taiwan, and then you have what we've seen here in our country, what looks like blatant attempts at espionage. What should Americans be thinking right now about the threat of China to the U.S. and the world?
Well, there's many areas of growing threat from China. First and foremost, they are modernizing their military, especially their strategic capabilities in strategic nuclear arms, such as intercontinental ballistic missiles and bombers and so forth, and which would lead to a very unstable region in and around China, but also they're much more of a global perspective. Cyber, they are very much on the offensive in trying to attack a lot of our systems. It could be in the banking system. It could be, in our day-to-day operations inside of the National Military Command Center. They haven't broken into it per se, but they're very active trying to upset the United States in any way possibly. But back to China and Taiwan, my concern is on the tactical aspect of this, militarily also, is all you need is one mistake by, a Chinese commander of a ship, or perhaps a misjudgment from a Taiwanese, fighter pilot. And so now you get a quick escalation, which could then throw much more, challenge into trying to de-escalate the conflict should it become a conflict. And so that should be also on the American people's radar as well. But my sources tell me that this exercise will not be as expansive as the one we saw again back in Speaker Pelosi's after her visit back in August of last year, or then Speaker McCarthy hosting the Taiwanese president. But nonetheless, we can expect more of this, Adrienne. That's another thing for the American people and our viewers to appreciate, that China will continue to be compelled to try to, again, influence not only Taiwan, but from that try to influence the rest of the world also.
Lieutenant General Richard Newton, thank you for your time.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.